say we need to tweak it, and the big fish here?
Thank you. There are always big fish when you're looking for tax evaders. So we definitely, we're just waiting for the program to close, and then we can see who has actually taken advantage of the opportunity and who's left. But in terms of policy, we set out 2 objectives. And as I'm sure you know, Nigeria had the lowest tax to GDP ratio in the world. The only country that was lower than us was Saudi Arabia. And at that time, Saudi Arabia didn't have a tax system. So we were at 6% tax to GDP, one of the lowest in the world. And that was a fallout from thinking that we were an oil economy. So one of the things we had to do was to really reintroduce the tax system to our people. The other problem we had was a very low number of taxpayers. 13 million taxpayers out of just of about 65 million economically active Nigerians. And most of those taxpayers were salary earners. So what we realized was the middle class, the owners of businesses, and the high net worth were not paying taxes. So we set up those objectives. Get more people aware of their obligation to pay tax, get more people into the tax net. And largely it's been extremely successful. The last figures we got from the Joint Tax Board is that we now have 19 million taxpayers. That's about a 40% plus increase in the number of taxpayers. The long-term impact on that is going to be very, very significant, particularly for our state governments who collect personal income taxes. So we'll continue to tweak the policy. We're targeting, at the moment we were using the 80-20 rule, which was take the biggest taxpayers out first and then trickle down to the lower end. Largely, we've had very, very good declarations from very large taxpayers. And I think I was sharing earlier on, one person, for example, paying 250 million, 300 million. Those are the sorts of people that have come into the net, which is very, very good for Nigeria, because it means that those who earn the most, who under the tax system should pay the most, are actually standing up to their responsibilities. But we'll continue to look at the policy. We'll continue to see how we can bring more people into the net. The problem we have with the structure of our economy is that it's possible to live in Nigeria underneath the radar and never have paid the right taxes, and nobody will ask you any questions. Because we're using a data-driven approach where we look at what assets do you have, what bank accounts do you have, what property do you have, what's your lifestyle, and then we look at your tax returns and see that there's a disconnect. How are you able to afford this lifestyle if your declared income is so low? So because we're using technology, it's a lot easier to pull people into the net. It's a lot easier to show people, and when we show people what the information we have on them, they're really usually quite alarmed that data and technology has allowed us to assess people properly. So we think the long-term benefits of VADES, apart from the cash, will be fairly considerable. And of course, this is part of the funding mix to fund our infrastructure, having sustainable tax revenues to continue to support the programs of government. But yes, I mean, we'll continue to tweak it. We'll continue to work on people that are still able to evade, people that are still able to misstate their income. But the thing is, technology is such, and the cooperation that we have from foreign governments is such that there really isn't anywhere to hide anymore. And I think a lot of Nigerian taxpayers are realizing that and embracing the tax message.
That's a good point for us to switch gears now. I'm going to come back for one round of ambush for each and every one of you. But in the meantime, we're going to go to the audience and to get questions for the ministers so the conversation can flow from the other side. So if we have all the microphones set, shall we have the first hand up? Any questions? We're going to take just about 4 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, from each aisle. If we have time, we'll take more. So, please go ahead, and can you just make it snappy?
Yeah.
Short and sharp, yeah. Your name and short and sharp.
Okay, my question goes to the Minister of Communication, Information, sorry. You said that you didn't know that a journalist was incarcerated for 2 years. I'm actually like a bit appalled that you said that on world stage. Secondly, I mean, this question actually has bothered me for a long time. I see that it's only Mrs. Adeosun that is on the stage. The administration has been well known for not appointing women, even as tokenism.
We can't make out what you're saying. So if could you try and be audible, please? Yeah, more questions. We'll take about 4, and then we can answer them.
Thank you, Mr. John. My name is...
Sorry, before you continue, I just asked the lady who belled the cat. Could you please write your question down and send it up to the stage? Because we couldn't make out what you were saying. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. John. My name is Fidelis Anosike, publisher of Daily Times. My question goes to Mr. Enelamah. How are we doing as a country in terms of the ease of doing business?
More questions? Yeah.
Well, my question is directed to the Honorable Minister for Industry. At the time the world is talking about Industry 4.0, things like artificial intelligence, robotics, and the like, what is the agenda for our country?
Good afternoon. My name is Irony Agbabiakand. I report for Blueprint newspaper. My question is to the Honorable Minister of Finance. We have been talking about the tax and the tax evaders for so long. And this question I will ask, because we understand in Nigeria that it's a problem with the media industry. What are you doing about companies deducting payment for, monies for taxes and are not remitted to the federal government's coffers? What are you doing about that?
Thank you. 2 more at the back. And then we can take them all in one.
My name is Bonaventure Mela. I write for Daily Times newspaper. Minister of Interior, you painted a very ugly picture of Nigerian border issue when you said that there was a border community whose chief is a brother to a Nigerian border community. And that when you wanted to discuss border, they said, the chief said you shouldn't even discuss it. Without effective border control, how will you know the number of people you have in your country? How will you know your population if you don't talk about border? And if you don't know your population, how can you plan?
Thank you. The last question, please.
I'm Sekeno Lawal, Chairperson Women Journalists Lagos Chapter. Sir, I would like to know what happens to the agricultural program, because I can remember during the campaign by the Mr. President, some of us, even some journalist colleagues, they are willing to go into agriculture. But in the last 3 years, because what they expected is with the fertile lands we have all over the country, if we have tractors, planters, harvesters that can be operated by graduates, and they will not blink an eyelid that I'm, into agriculture. But up till now, we are yet to see that. What happens to that, sir?
Thank you. Don't accuse me of nepotism. I'll just ask Kari Ahmed, who I saw her hand up just now, to take the last question, and then we can come back here and answer all the questions. Oh, we have questions from there too? We'll do a second round if the President permits.
Thank you. My name is Kadri Ahmed. I'm a journalist. My question is for the Minister of Interior. I come from Zamfara State, and I think you referred to Zamfara when you were talking earlier.